It's showtime, folks! Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel. And this is my review for All That Jazz, which came out in 1979, directed by Bob Fosse, and stars Roy Scheider. The movie follows Joe Gideon, played by Roy Scheider, who is a film director, dance choreographer, and dancer himself, as he's in the middle of setting up this play while in the middle of editing a film, and he's also dealing with his personal demons of drug abuse, womanizing, and he just loves to fantasize about the possibility of death. So essentially, he's just Bob Fosse. And I'm not making that up. This movie is pretty much a semi-autobiographical depiction of Bob Fosse's life, but with a little bit of a fantasy element thrown into it. The less said, the better. So I've talked about this movie before when I did my list of top 100 favorite movies of all time. All That Jazz landed at number 61, and just the past month, I randomly caught it on TCM, and I had some more work to do when the movie was playing on Turner Classic Movies, but I just couldn't look away. I just found myself sitting down and watching this entire movie because I love it. To be honest, I have actually seen All That Jazz more in a theater than I actually have on TV. The first time I saw this movie was at the very first college film class I ever took. And this was at a point when I was starting to develop a more mature taste in film and pretty much look at every aspect outside of entertainment value. And this movie blew me away. The second time I saw this movie was with my dad at the old theater at the former Los Angeles County Museum of Art, or LACMA as Angelinos call it. Again, it was still very impressive, and there's a reason why this movie just lands in my top 100 list. Because it is just an intriguing, very entertaining, and expertly made film on all accounts. And when talking about this movie in my top 100 list, I mentioned that one of the people that makes this movie as great as it is Roy Scheider. This movie came out a year after Roy Scheider begrudgingly made Jaws 2, and next to his performance as Chief Brody in the original Jaws, this is his best performance. Roy Scheider is absolutely incredible in this role. It got him an Oscar nomination for Best Actor. And Joe Gideon as a character is such a fascinating wreck. Like I said before, he's a womanizer, he's a drug abuser, and he's a chain smoker. And the thing about this character that makes him interesting is that despite all that, despite doing all these things that make him kind of a scummy person, or things that could easily kill him further down the line, he's dedicated. Like, he just doesn't have a care in the world. He goes full speed ahead with his goals, whether it's with work or womanizing or drug abuse or chain smoking, and he just lives life to the fullest. The way the story is told is actually pretty fascinating. There are a couple moments intercut in the movie where Joe Gideon is having a conversation with the Angel of Death, played by Jessica Lange. And the first two times I saw this movie, whenever those sequences would come up, I thought to myself, oh, this character's already dead. Like, the beginning of the movie already tells you that this character's dead. And he's pretty much recapping his life as he's talking to the Angel of Death. But watching it this third time on TCM, I realized that this is more of a figment of his imagination. The movie doesn't tell you right off the bat that he's gonna die, and when you really pay attention, especially in the third act, you realize that Joe Gideon seems to have a pretty high interest in death, and there are several points in the movie where he, again, just doesn't care. To quote Rocky IV, if he dies, he dies, and he just kind of seems to accept the fact that, look, if I die, I lived a hell of a life. I have accomplished so much. I may have made a bunch of enemies along the way. I may have let people down. But if I leave this world, then I'm good. At least that's how I interpret those moments. And again, Roy Scheider just knocks it out of the park. And the way this story is told is very interesting and really keeps you on the edge of your seat. The rest of the movie is also fantastic. You have a bunch of great supporting cast members. Like I mentioned, Jessica Lange. The actress who plays Gideon's daughter is great. Leland Palmer as Joe's ex-wife is fantastic as well. The supporting cast is fantastic, and a lot of the technical aspects of the movie really help make it what it is, besides Roy Scheider himself. The dance choreography is astounding, and the editing is also fantastic as well. One of the things that I've really noticed about Bob Fosse rewatching this movie again and seeing Cabaret for the first time is how frenetic his editing style is. But at the same time, it's never at a point where it's overdone or takes you out of the movie. The editing is quick, it's paced, and it just adds to the film's style. That and the amazing production design in this film. Every time I watch this movie, I always originally think to myself, this movie's production design is good, but I don't think it should have won the Oscar for production design over Alien, which also came out that same year. Because with Alien, they had to make this spaceship with original concepts, and it just looks incredible, whereas the production design in All That Jazz is just everyday life, pretty much. At first. Then when you get to the third act of the movie, the way they have to move all these sets around, and this is where the more fantastical element of the movie comes in. You realize, oh no, there's a reason why this movie won Best Production Design. Even if it was over Alien, this production design just has more flair to it. And plus, there's the Academy's bias against science fiction films and horror in general. To be honest, I don't know what else there is to say about the movie. If I had any criticisms at all, no, actually I don't. This is a perfect movie from every single angle. The performances are fantastic, especially from Roy Scheider. Bob Fosse's direction is phenomenal. All the film's technical aspects, from the editing, costumes, and production design, all won Academy Awards for a reason. And the script is really great at making this somewhat tragic story feel hopeful and lighthearted. And I also love the way this film's structured in terms of its story, with those segments where Joe Gideon is talking to the Angel of Death. It's such a very bizarre movie, and when I tell people that I love All That Jazz, some people would be surprised, like, I wouldn't expect you to like a movie like this, especially with its bizarre story structure, and yeah, I do. And if I could just go back to the autobiographical side of this film, this movie is such a depiction of Bob Fosse's life that it even foreshadowed his death by a heart attack. Joe Gideon's death is caused by a heart attack, and then 8 years after All That Jazz came out, Bob Fosse himself would die of a heart attack. So that is incredibly poetic, and if that's not proof enough that this is probably his most personal film, then I don't know what is. I absolutely adore All That Jazz. And if being at number 61 on my top 100 favorite movies list wasn't enough, then I'd have to say get off your ass and go see it right now. This is, in every sense of the word, a masterpiece. It is one of the best movies of the 70s. It's one of Bob Fosse's best films, and it's one of my favorite musicals out there. Even if the emphasis is more on dancing rather than music itself. This movie is just absolutely perfect from beginning to end, and I seriously cannot stress enough on how vital it is that you see this movie at some point in your life. And there you go, that's my review for All That Jazz. Now I want to know what you guys think about the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, I hope you enjoyed this review. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give this video a like, leave a comment, support my Patreon page, follow me on social media, and until then, this is the Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one